But I do think that it's going to get warm in here, and I'm going to start sweating. So
that is a great cold opener right there. That's how we're going to start the podcast.
Oh, we're recording. Stop it.
What's going on, everybody? This is Worship Pastor Luke Littrell, and welcome to the new podcast. Welcome, Heath.
Hey.
This is episode 1. This is called Beyond the Cove. Heath, tell us a little bit about what this podcast is and what it's used for.
Yeah, we want to have a platform for there just to be kind of a continuation of the conversation from Sunday, right? We get a lot of opportunity to gather on Sunday morning, but not for a long time. Connect groups, ministry that's happening, but Sundays come and go really fast. And we really want to continue that conversation into the week, have time to talk about not necessarily the sermon, right? I don't necessarily want to.
It's all about you.
I don't want to go after the sermon. I don't want to, pick it apart either. But how do we take the truths of God's word? How do we apply it to life?
Yeah.
Right. What happens outside the walls of this church? We think about Fruit Cove, talk about the Cove, right? Yeah. This is where we are. What happens when we leave here? Absolutely. What happens when we take this message back home? How do we live it at work? How do we disciple our kids with the truths that we're learning and studying as a church family? And so in some part, like, how do we take what happens here and connect it with life beyond Fruit Cove Baptist Church?
Application stuff.
But then also, there's just so much going on in the world.
Yeah.
There's so much going on in the world that our church is a part of and that we're touching. Society seems like it's going crazy all the time. And so part of it can be for us just to be able to spend some time talking about what's happening in the world around us, what's happening beyond the Cove. How does that affect how we should be the church, how we should be who God's called us to be? And so it could be multifaceted, but really, who are we? What are we exploring here? And then how does that apply to the world around us?
That's great.
So,
and this is just
we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, this is just a conversation, and we'll have some guests on here and there.
Yeah.
And we want this to just be about faith life and just following Jesus. And man, you get to come along that ride with us, and we're excited. Again, my name is Luke Littrell, pastor of worship. This is Heath Woolman. He's our senior pastor here. We're going to start off with some hot takes. Do you know what a hot take is?
I think I'm about to learn.
What is it that is really just on your mind lately? Okay, for me, I'll give you my hot take. Sunday naps are a spiritual thing, and they are from the Lord. And I'm going to give some scripture behind that.
Oh, no. He came prepared.
Psalms 127, for he grants sleep to those he loves. That's the later part of the verse there, but
I shouldn't read into that too much because I do believe he loves me, but oh goodness.
Man, I'll tell you, Sunday naps hit differently.
Yeah, they do.
My son woke up yesterday from a nap and he goes, "I'm ready for pancakes." He slept so hard.
It's a whole new day.
It was the whole day was gone. What's your hot take?
Man, I don't know. Hot take. This is a hard question. I should have been more prepared for this. I didn't know that this was going to be a thing until just a minute ago.
I'm putting you on the spot.
It's all right. I don't know. I thinking about yesterday, we have been so busy.
Yeah.
We haven't taken Christmas down. Like we just started taking Christmas down yesterday, and it's January 13th or something like that. Christmas tree should be year round. That's my hot take. Just leave it up, change the decorations.
Yep, keep the lights
up.
I
don't have to rearrange. I tonight when I get home, Casey's got like furniture rearranging on the agenda. And so Christmas tree should be year round, and I wouldn't have to deal with boxing them every holiday.
Just change the decorations on the trees for the season.
Get one with like the multi-changing lights, and so you can you have a orange one up at Halloween, you get different colors for Thanksgiving, put up some purples and pinks for Easter. It'd be great.
That's awesome.
Somebody needs to market a year-round seasonal tree.
I love it. I would get in on that for sure. Although
side gig, retirement plan.
This doesn't work out. Yeah, that's right.
Just in case.
Hey, you're in the new series, the First Peter series, talking about exiles. Talk to us. What prompted to go into exiles in this series, First Peter?
It wasn't the plan at all. Didn't want to do that. In fact, we sat down. I mean, you were there early on. We sat down staff retreat in the summer, and I kind of gave the plan for where I wanted to be in 2026, and it was going to be a completely different book in the Old Testament. And the more I studied for it, the more I just felt like the Lord was saying, our church needs this, but it's not what you're preaching on Sunday morning. In fact, we've shifted. It has become the Nehemiah series that I'm going to be teaching through with Walter Mueller and Pastor Tim and some others on Wednesday night. We moved the focus on Nehemiah to Wednesday night midweek study. And I didn't know where to go. Like, if you ever want to experience an existential crisis in the life of a pastor, be looking at the calendar and have nothing on it, and know that Sunday's coming and you've got to be ready to go. And so, really just started reading through, found a couple of devotional things, and it just seemed like everything kept pointing back to 1 Peter. And so I dove into 1 Peter, and by late September, early October, we're shifting everything, and I start putting some thoughts together. And the more I've spent time in it, the more I just see the things that are happening in just the life of our church and in people in our church. I feel like it's something that's going to resonate really well. It may not resonate with anybody but me.
It did with me. It's been good so far.
But I think that there's a lot of value in thinking in terms of this world really isn't home. Yeah. Right? It's not our final place. It's a step in the journey. It's a challenging world that we get to live in, but we're living for something greater. And I don't know, I need to be reminded of that. I think a lot of people do. And so that's where we are.
One of the key points that you talked about yesterday was you were both chosen and in exile. What does that mean for somebody that, let's say they came to church for the first time yesterday or this past weekend and they heard that? How could they apply that to their lives and taking the next step towards salvation?
Yeah, for a new believer, for somebody who's engaging this, it can probably seem really foreign. Yeah. Because 1 Peter's not written to the unbeliever. Right. 1 Peter is written to not just the marginal Christian or the cultural Christian. It's written to the believer who is taking the licks and living the life that God's called them to live despite the stuff around them. And so when I'm talking to a new believer or somebody who's interested in the faith, 1 Peter's probably not where I'm going to tell them to start because it isn't necessarily for a person who's exploring the idea of the faith. But at the same time, I think we all resonate with how broken the world is. Like the 3 circles, Jimmy Scroggins, the life evangelism stuff. It centers around that reality that everybody resonates with brokenness. Yeah. And so in some aspects, we're exiles because we're in a broken world, because this thing's deteriorating around us. And so I think everybody can meet us in the where we are is not working out. Right. Where we are is not where we want to be. Like the light illustration we did. That
was cool.
I don't know why I did that. I just felt like it would be a neat introduction.
That was really cool.
But that idea of looking around and feeling out of place, but for somebody to be able to walk in that room and realize, oh, I'm not the only one who feels that. Right. That's, I think, important because sometimes whether you're a believer or not, you look around and you think, well, what's the point? This world's so difficult. There's so much stuff going on. We're hearing about all this chaos and crisis and politics are nuts. Like, what's the point in all of this? And so for the unbeliever, there's not one until we find Jesus. Right. What Peter's getting at is, hey, once you found Jesus, it doesn't immediately fix the mess around you, but your perspective shifts. You become chosen, you become a child of God, and then you look at and live through the world around you totally different. Yeah. And so we actually impose the idea of being exiles on ourselves because we've chosen a better life. And that's hard for an unbeliever to grasp.
It is.
When a believer grasps that, there's this conscious decision, like, I'm going to choose to follow Jesus. And we gotta be careful because there's a whole generation of like rainbows and cupcakes come to Jesus and your life's gonna be fantastic. That's not real life. Like most of the time we come to Jesus and life is harder because that means I don't get to use my money for what I want to use it for. I don't get to spend my time the way I want to spend my time. I actually have to be sacrificial with my life. And so coming to Jesus is actually the hardest thing that somebody can do, especially if they look at the world and they think it's appealing. Yeah. Because now I'm having to choose to separate myself from it, to be distinct from it. That's good. So being an exile, I mean, that's self-imposed because we're choosing Jesus.
Right. Well, you also talked about yesterday kind of the three tenses of salvation. Talk to us about that. I thought that was really good.
Not original.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a clip of that. Somebody sent me a clip of that piece, and Danny Aiken. And so president, Southeastern Seminary, announced his retirement, which Dr. Aiken's he's one of those pillar leaders in our denomination, and I just love listening to him preach, and I love his ministry. But he wrote that in his commentary on First Peter, and just that idea of giving it language that people who are outside of the church can understand.
Right.
Because in church life, I mean, if we're not careful, we can talk about, redemption and sanctification, glorification. Right. We can talk about the idea that we're regenerated and that God is sanctifying us. But what does that really mean? Mm-hmm. Like, let's put real words to that. And so I just love that image that, we, at that point of regeneration, I mean, we're instantly saved from the penalty of sin.
Yeah, that's great.
The penalty's gone.
Right.
But sin's still here.
Yep.
We're still wrestling with it. We're still daily walking through it. And so in past tense, I'm saved. It's settled. Jesus won. Praise God. Right now, I'm still navigating stuff. Like, we're having the question at home, like, do we need internet filters now because sin has the ability to get into our home, and we've got kids that are grown up and they're starting to be online, and we recognize the tendencies of this world. And so we need that present tense, the work of God sanctifying us daily, being saved from the power of sin, because it's there and it's real. And whether we're saved or not, the enemy is going to come after us. And so that was just a great visual for me. But that future tense is, I think, the most important piece.
Glorification.
That it's the final place. It's home, but it's also, I love the picture of being saved from sin's presence.
Yeah.
Right. Power has no hold on us right now. Yeah, it can affect us. Yeah, it can tempt us. Penalty's gone because Jesus took it on the cross. But one day, man, we're going to be somewhere where sin doesn't even get to enter.
It's hard to even fathom that.
You can't.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. You cannot do it. That's why Peter's writing the book. Like, keep your eyes on Jesus. Keep working towards him. There's a home for you that's better than anything that you understand. Right. He couldn't even put it into words. That's why he had to go into the negatives.
Yeah.
That's why he says, listen, this is imperishable, it's undefiled, it's unfading. He doesn't try to explain it. He just tells us what he knows it's not.
Yeah.
And that's what we can cling to right now.
Great.
Is that we get to escape the mess that we're in because of what Jesus has done.
Where is this series headed? What can we be looking forward to? Man,
we're gonna walk through kind of like we did the John series.
Yeah.
Section by section. It's gonna take us all spring, kind of into early summer when we're going to get there. This year we're gonna pause for like big holidays, and so we're not going to try to impose First Peter on Easter.
Sure.
We're not going to impose First Peter on probably Mother's Day, right? We'll take some pauses there, but just what I want it to do is I want it to draw us together more as a church. We are so individualistic, and even in our society, right? There's so many people that they want the experience. They want to come and they want to get a word. They want to come and they want to get fed. I want to get fed. I mean, that's sure. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm jumping onto different things because I want that intake. But if I've learned anything, whether we say we want it or not, we all need more than just the intake. We all need that community. Mm-hmm. And the only way that we survive as exiles is if we recognize, one, that we are exiles, and two, we've got to live this life together.
Yeah.
And I think that's the encouragement from Peter, is that as we remember what we're called to, we remember who we are as chosen individuals. We're chosen individuals to be a part of a family, to be a part of a community. Mm-hmm. And so I would love to see people jumping into D groups. I would love to see people jumping into midweek. I mean, midweek starts this week. And so for the adult studies and content's going, but it's not our midweek, our D groups. Sure, we have curriculum and classes and all that, but it's a place to belong.
Yeah.
It's a place to lean on somebody else. Right. And I think some people miss the value of that.
Yeah.
The more we can highlight that we're exiles and that we need one another, the more I hope that causes people to say, you know what, let me give this small group a chance. Let me connect to a small group sometime on a Sunday morning, or a D group throughout the week or whatever. And so that's kind of long term. I'd love to see this cause more people to say, let's be a part of something deeper together.
Yeah. I think community is something that people long for way before they even know that they have a void in themselves. Mm-hmm. I heard a study the other day that said people are living in smaller houses, even apartments, and trying to find community and bigger living space with community. I found that really interesting. And so now you see churches building buildings that have just community people to meet together. And man, that's really interesting. People want to be around other people, especially after COVID, after being inside of their home for so long and not being able to be with people.
I hate the fact that we're still talking about COVID and it's been over 5 years.
Yeah, I know.
But it shifted so many things.
Changed the way we think about things.
That's part of, the design plans that we've been talking about with the Beyond initiative, creating community spaces. But you look at all the communities around us, right? We got a lot of people that live in Julington Creek Plantation.
Yep.
Got a lot of people that live in Rivertown.
Yep.
You live over in the Rivertown area.
Yep.
We got our property down by Silverleaf, these big master plan communities, the money, it's going into the amenity centers. It's going into the community centers.
Yep.
I mean, there's Pastor Kevin, our high school pastor, there's a lazy river across the street from his house in his neighborhood because there's this desire to have community gathering spaces.
Yep.
And I think you're exactly right. People are looking for that, and they don't want it to be imposed. Right. And so that's part of the conversation for us as a church. Like, how do we make our community spots not just be a class, not just be a sterile come sit in rows and learn and listen, but let's do life together. Sure. Let's get outside the walls. Let's go beyond the cove, right? That's part of why we're doing this, to advance that conversation, to help us think about how we can be chosen exiles on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? Not just what happens here on Sunday morning.
Yeah, so good. What can we be praying for the church? What's on your heart for this year, 2026? For me, I try to choose a word, and I ask God to give me a word every year.
All right.
God, what's this year? And he gave me the word joy. So if you could choose a word for Heath Woolman, what is that word for 2026? I'm putting you on the spot.
For the record, he did not give me any idea of what we were talking about.
This is the best content when we ask questions like this.
Well, yeah, except I'm gonna armchair quarterback it later and be like, man, I should have said this. The word for the year,
and you don't have to know it right now, but I would ask our listeners to think about that. What is a word for the year that God's laid on your heart? For me, last year it was hope.
Okay.
And it's different every year.
Hey, God brought you to Fruit Cove.
And exactly,
that's awesome.
That's what it was, man.
Come on.
So for me, it's joy, and talking to the worship team about the song that we just started singing 2 weeks ago, the joy of the Lord is our strength, not by our own strength, but by His. And so I love that, and being able to think about that. So what could we be praying for? Not only just a word for the year, but what's on your heart that we could be praying for Fruit Cove?
Man, for me personally, it's really hard to not try to compartmentalize all the parts of life.
Yeah.
Right. And the longer I'm here, the more embedded my family is, not just to Fruit Cove Baptist Church, but into this community and here. And those lines are starting to blur. And I love when those lines start to blur, because that means we're starting to live it kind of holistically in all these different ways. Man, for me, I think the word that comes to mind right now is faithfulness.
Love it.
Because I have this burden. I've been talking a lot with it. In fact, you're going to help me in part of this on Wednesday nights. Just we're really good at doing, and we got to be faithful in our doing, but I also want us to be faithful in our pursuing. Right. And there's a difference. We do a lot of things. We're going to do a lot of things this year as a church. Right. And we're praying about buildings and land and all of this. We're talking about mission teams and reaching the lost and engaging our neighborhoods in a different way this year. Like, there's a lot of things in front of us. We're doing this new podcast. Like, there's a lot of new things that we can do.
Yeah.
I don't want us to miss the call to pursue the things of God, because we're trying to do things for God.
Right.
And for me, somebody asked, like, hey, what happens if nobody pledges to Beyond? No money comes in. We've got this grand plan. Are you still going to be our pastor? Like, are you going to be discouraged because nobody wants to get on board? And quite frankly, I would love to see all of these things happen. But more importantly, I want to see us as a church healthy. I want to see us as a church faithful.
Yeah.
And that doesn't start by the things that we do. It starts by who we pursue. And so I've challenged myself. I meet bi-weekly with somebody in our church, and we're starting a new book together just for us. Kind of pseudo D group, just reading through a book together, challenging and encouraging one another. We're working through a book with our staff right now, just that idea of self-care and making sure that we're healthy and we're leading from a place of health and faithfulness. And we're not just trying to constantly lead from a place of emptiness in this dry state. God's calling us to be faithful. And that means we can build a building. That means we can send a mission team. We can do all of the things. But I think more importantly, faithfulness means that our eyes are locked on him and we're pursuing him. I don't care if we build a building. I want to.
Right.
I want to remodel the space. I'm so sick of our carpet. There's so many things. I walk around our campus. Sure. Pastor Jake has put this limit on the amount of time I'm allowed to walk on campus by myself because he's sick of all the text messages he gets of pictures of things that are broken or falling apart.
Yeah.
Like there's so much stuff that we want to do.
Right.
But we don't need a building to be faithful.
That's right.
We don't need a campus. We don't need a new campus to be faithful. We can use those things. I believe God's calling us to use those things for his glory. But more foundationally, I want us spiritually healthy. I want to be spiritually healthy. Yeah. I want to be faithful as a pastor, as a dad, as a husband. And so as all those things, the longer we're here, blend together, right? I'm not getting to compartmentalize, well, I'm the pastor at church, but then I can walk in Publix. No, people know who I am in Publix now. Yeah. I can't go home and turn it off, right? No, okay. My kids are old enough now. They recognize like, hey, I hear what you preach on Sunday morning. Show me that you actually believe this on Monday night.
That's right.
And so there's this desire for me to just be genuinely faithful regardless of when and where. And that's a hard task. Yeah. But again, if we are chosen exiles, the only way we thrive as exiles is if we're faithful to the calling that God's placed on our life.
So good. So good. So think about what your word is.
Yeah.
Man, faithfulness. I love that. I want to end today with what you asked the congregation to do yesterday. We took selfies.
Yeah.
I think that was really cool. I want to read to you what you said. You said, you live here, but you don't live for here. You may feel scattered, but you are not abandoned. Mm-hmm. You may feel like an exile, but you're really an ambassador. You are chosen. You are not forgotten. I think I looked out in the second service. I did it in the first service, took selfies and looked at my picture saying that. And that's hard to do. But I looked in the second service and there was a few people that maybe didn't say it. And you spoke on that. Talk to us why people wouldn't say that to themselves, taking the picture.
Well, one, because it's weird. Like I had you take a selfie of yourself in church, and I looked at mine as I did it on stage. I'm like, okay, that was a terrible photo. If you're brave enough, share it with Fruit Cove on all socials.
Us.
That would be fun. Tag us. I'd love to see your selfies from worship. But I think in a more genuine sense, we either don't do it because we don't feel it.
Yeah.
No, we don't do it because we don't believe it. Mm-hmm. That's two totally different categories, right? Mm-hmm. If you were that first time visitor that maybe you're exploring things of the faith and you showed up and I'm asking you to say those things to yourself. The reality is, apart from Jesus, you can't say those things.
Yeah, that's true.
There's no truth in what we said
right.
if Jesus hasn't changed everything in your life.
Right.
Right. If you aren't chosen, if you haven't been called out, if you haven't been redeemed by the blood of Jesus, like you can say all of those things, but there's not a lot of truth in that because we need him for those things to be true. And so if I don't believe it, there's no way I can say it to myself. I might be able to go through the motions, and there's a lot of cultural Christians that show up at church and we go through the motions and we do all of the things. That's why I wanted to make that a little bit more personal.
It is.
But for the believer who struggles with that, there are some times where I have a hard time saying some of those lines to myself.
Sure.
Right. And I'm a people pleaser. Yeah. And so that idea of I live here, but I don't live for here. Sometimes I want to live for here. Mm-hmm. Sometimes my priorities are different. My pursuits are not where they need to be. And so some people might have had a hard time saying it because they just need a recalibration. Yeah. It's a good time of the year to recalibrate and to really ask yourself, do I believe those things? Okay. If I believe those things, am I living my life like those things are truths? Right. Am I living my life like those things are really something that I don't just say I believe, but that inform how I live my life?
So good. Anything else before we close?
No, I'm glad we're doing this.
This is fun.
I am, and I'm looking forward to. We're gonna pull in staff and church members, and we get a missionary friend who's here on furlough or whatever.
Good.
We'll pull them in because we didn't talk about any like cultural stuff or social stuff right now. I mean, pick whoever you want, Fox News, CNN, whatever other news. The world's falling apart if you ask them, and in some aspects, the world is falling apart.
Yeah,
but we serve a God who transcends above all of that.
Amen.
And so I want us at times to be able to take some time to talk about like what's going on in the world, and let's look at it through a Christian lens. And there will be a lot of things in 1 Peter that as he calls out some of the challenges, some of the suffering in life, there's some direct correlation to what's happening in the world around us. And so I'm looking forward to this being a really practical season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of how we take what we're reading and look at the world through that lens.
Just a simple conversation.
Yeah. I love it.
Hey, thank you for joining us. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, all the places you find podcasts, Facebook. We're just excited. We're figuring it out as we go. So bear with us, but let's do this again next week.
Yeah, we'd love it.
We'll do a weekly podcast.
Be great.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
See y'all.